The Magna Carta, sealed by King John of England in 1215, is widely celebrated in Western discourse. It emerged from a feudal context, primarily as a reactionary measure against the tyrannical rule of an unpopular king. The barons of England, frustrated by excessive taxes and arbitrary justice, compelled the king to affix his seal to a document that would bind him to the laws of the land. Its clauses, demanding the protection of church rights, protection from illegal imprisonment, access to swift justice, and limitations on feudal payments, were revolutionary. The Magna Carta is often heralded as the foundation of modern democracy, embodying principles that would eventually shape notions of constitutional law and individual liberties in Western societies. In contrast, the Mande Charter, or the Kouroukan Fouga, crafted in the expansive plains of the Mali Empire under the leadership of Sundiata Keita, also in the early 13th century, serves as a testament to a different kind of legislative history. Unlike the Magna Carta's response to political crisis, the Mande Charter was a proactive establishment of social order and ethical governance, following Keita's unification of various clans after his victory at the Battle of Kwara. The Mande Charter is infused with the philosophical underpinnings of African communalism, outlining not only the rights but also the responsibilities of individuals to their community. It addressed a broad spectrum of social concerns, from the prohibition of incest and the protection of the environment, to the humane treatment of prisoners. While the Magna Carta began as a peace treaty between nobility and monarchy, primarily addressing the immediate grievances of feudal lords, its impact evolved into a cornerstone of individual legal rights. The Mande Charter, on the other hand, was inherently more holistic from its inception, designed to guide an entire society. It integrated social, environmental, and ethical guidelines, demonstrating an early understanding of concepts that Western societies would only come to grapple with centuries later. The recognition and legacy of these documents also diverge significantly. The Magna Carta has been studied, celebrated, and revered as a critical step towards modern democracy and human rights. Its principles have permeated global consciousness, influencing numerous constitutional frameworks around the world. The Mande Charter, however, remains largely under-recognized outside scholarly circles familiar with African history. Indeed, a lot of blacks in Africa and the diaspora are unaware of this document. Its contributions to global legal and ethical norms have not been as celebrated or influential in international discourse, reflecting a broader pattern of how African legacies are often overshadowed in the global narrative. This comparative obscurity does not, however, diminish the Mande Charter's significance as a pioneering document in the realm of human rights. Nesbitt, a scholar from Princeton University, offers a compelling analysis of the Mande Charter in his 2014 study, presenting it as a groundbreaking human rights charter from the year 1222. According to Nesbitt, this document from the Mali Empire exemplifies a modern, non-tribal, and universal approach to human rights, distinctly preceding the European modern human rights movements influenced by thinkers like Spinoza and Kant, as well as significant documents like the French Declaration of the Rights of Man and Citizen of 1793. Nesbitt asserts that the Mande Charter diverges significantly from other historical legal documents, such as the Magna Carta and the Code Noir. It stands out because it lacks any reference to inequalities based on race, gender, wealth, language, or class. Instead, it is rooted in a philosophy of egalitarianism and universalism, encapsulated in the principle that every life is a life, thereby affirming the equal value of every individual human life. He emphasizes that the Charter's language is constructive and positive, contrasting sharply with the prohibitive and often punitive language found in many other ancient legal texts, such as the directives typically framed as "thou shalt not," found in the Hebrew Bible. The Mande Charter's positive formulations suggest a proactive intent to establish an ideal society founded on the core principles of fraternity, equality, freedom, and justice. Moreover, Nesbitt highlights the Mande Charter's role in the context of the slavery prevalent at the time due to the spread of Islam. Unlike many documents of its era, which only made moral assertions against slavery, the Mande Charter went a step further. It not only denounced the practice of enslavement, but also laid the groundwork for an emancipatory government. This aspect of the Charter positions it as one of the earliest documents actively seeking the abolition of enslavement, a significant precursor to later declarations like those of 1776 in America and 1789 in France, which are often celebrated in Western history for their roles in advocating liberty and human rights. In 2009, the Mande Charter, a cornerstone of Mali Empire governance, was recognized by UNESCO as part of the intangible cultural heritage of humanity. The Charter emerged in the 1200s, when Sundiata Keita, often called the original Lion King, founded the Mali Empire. Under Keita's leadership, the Mali Empire flourished, controlling key trade routes and spreading its influence across West Africa through its laws, language, and customs from the 13th to the 17th century. Cities like Djenné and Timbuktu thrived as cultural and trade centers, famed for their universities and grand mosques. The empire's renown peaked during the reign of Mansa Musa, one of the wealthiest people in history, known for his lavish pilgrimage to Mecca, which significantly impacted Egypt's economy due to the vast amount of gold he spent. However, by the 15th century, the Songhai Empire rose and eventually absorbed Mali, diminishing the direct influence of the Mande Charter, though it survived in the oral traditions of the griots. Today, the descendants of the Mali Empire, the Mandingue people, still live across West Africa, carrying with them the legacy of the Mande Charter, a document some scholars believe predate the Magna Carta. This history challenges and enriches our understanding of global cultural heritage and the roots of modern legal systems. Let's begin our story. Deep within the annals of African history lies the Mande Charter, an ancient manuscript originating from the Mali Empire. It is arguably one of the first declarations of human rights in the world. Conceived not only as a legal framework, but as a profound declaration of ethical governance, the Mande Charter established principles of social responsibility, environmental stewardship, and human dignity that predated Western documents by centuries. Its existence challenges our understanding of history's guardianship of human rights and beckons a deeper exploration into the rich, albeit lesser-known, legacies of African civilization. At the heart of the Mali Empire, under the golden African sun, the Mande Charter emerged as a beacon of enlightened governance, centuries before the modern articulations of human rights became global doctrine. This ancient document, also known as the Manding Oath or the Hunter's Oath, Donsolu Kalikan, was crafted when the legendary Mansa Emperor Sundiata Keita ascended to the throne, laying down a foundation that would solidify his empire as one of history's most illustrious civilizations. Mali, during the reign of Mansa Sundiata Keita, and later under Mansa Suleiman in 1371, as vividly described by the Arab traveler Ibn Battuta, was a dazzling mosaic of wealth, culture, and power, potentially the richest state in the world at that time. The vivid reconstructions of court life during Mansa Suleiman's reign further illustrate the grandeur and complexity of Mali's social fabric. The geographical expanse of the former Mali Empire, overlaid with current maps of African countries, showcases its vast reach and the enduring influence of its governance. The Mande Charter itself, existing in versions from both 1222 and 1236, offers a profound glimpse into the societal structure and the ethos that governed this empire. The initial version from 1222, organized into 7 articles, lays out the values, ideals, and principles that were the fundamental pillars of the Mali Empire. It is considered the earliest known declaration of human rights, predating by several centuries the Universal Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen, which appeared in France in 1789. This document not only reflects the legal and moral philosophy of the Mali Empire, but also represents a seminal moment in the conceptualization of human rights. Enacted under the auspices of the Brotherhood of Hunters, a prestigious fraternity from which Sundiata himself hailed, the Charter articulated a code of ethics that stressed the importance of social responsibility, environmental stewardship, and communal harmony. This version of the Charter, scrutinized and reviewed by the respected Yusuf Tata Sise with the wise and learned Wa Kamisoko, was detailed in their work Sundiata, La Gloire du Mali, published in 1991. The 1236 version, with its 44 articles, delved deeper into the social and hierarchical organization of the empire, offering a more structured blueprint for governance and societal interaction within the Mali Empire. Together, these versions of the Mande Charter illuminate a society that valued ethical conduct, equitable governance, and the rights of its people, embodying the principle of Ma'at, an ancient Egyptian concept of truth, balance, order, and justice, long before these ideas were formalized in the Western world. Thus, the Mande Charter stands as a testament to the advanced state of legal and moral thought in African history, an enduring legacy that continues to inform contemporary discussions on governance and human rights around the world. The Kouroukan Fouga, also known as Mande Charter, documented by Kouyaté, consists of 44 edicts organized into 4 categories: social organization, property rights, environmental protection, and personal responsibilities. This charter structured the Mali Empire into specialized clans, each with unique responsibilities, represented at the Kwara Assembly. These included 16 quiver carrier clans for defense, 4 clans overseeing Islamic law, 4 trade specialized clans, and 4 clans tasked with historical record-keeping through song. A noteworthy inclusion in the charter is the mandate for slave humane treatment, stipulating rest periods and reasonable work hours, and the institutionalization of Sanankuya, a traditional West African social practice, as a civic duty. Hunters proclaim all human lives are equally precious. Though one life may precede another in time, no life is older or more worthy of respect than another, nor is one life superior to another. Hunters proclaim, as all life is sacred, any harm done to a life must be made right. Thus, no one should attack their neighbor without cause. No one should harm their neighbor. No one should torment their fellow human. Hunters proclaim, let everyone protect their neighbor, honor their parents, properly educate their children, and provide for their family's needs. Hunters proclaim, let everyone guard the land of their ancestors. By country or homeland, referred to as Faso, we primarily mean its people. For any land devoid of humans would surely long for them. Hunters proclaim, hunger and slavery are unacceptable. They are among the greatest calamities in this world. As long as we bear quiver and bow, no one in Manden will die of hunger, even if famine arises. No war shall ravage our villages to seize slaves. Henceforth, no one will shackle another to sell them into bondage. No one shall be beaten, much less killed, for being born to a slave. Hunters proclaim, on this day, the essence of slavery is abolished in Manden, from one end to the other. Raiding for slaves is henceforth forbidden in Manden. The suffering these atrocities cause ends today. What a torment slavery is, especially when the oppressed have no defender, for a slave is regarded nowhere in the world. The elders have taught us, humans, beings of bone and flesh, of marrow and nerves, of skin and hair, survive on food and drink. But their soul, their spirit, thrives on 3 freedoms: to see whom they wish, to speak as they desire, and to act of their own will. Should any of these freedoms be curtailed, the human soul would indeed suffer and diminish. Therefore, the hunters declare, each person owns themselves, each is free to act, each enjoys the fruits of their labor. This is the oath of Manden, proclaimed for the ears of the world. In its opening articles, the text emphasizes that all human life is precious and must be treated with reverence. It firmly advocates for the principle that no one should inflict harm, subjugate, or end the life of another. Here we see a clear declaration of everyone's equality, the importance of human dignity, and mutual respect. The third article encourages every individual to care for their neighbors, as they would for themselves, and to honor their familial and ancestral obligations. This highlights the values of community support, reciprocity, and respect for one's heritage. In the fourth article, there is a call to protect and sustain the land of our ancestors. This involves defending, preserving, and nurturing the land, which is seen as integral to the continuity of life, reflecting on how losing human presence can impact the land. The fifth and sixth articles introduce elements of economic fairness and social justice. They address the need to combat hunger through equitable distribution of resources and to actively oppose slavery. It's important to note that traditional African cultures have historically opposed slave economies, valuing human dignity highly. This document underscores that opposition, particularly in response to the devastating impacts of slavery introduced by Arab Muslim conquests that began in the 7th century. Finally, the 7th article champions the right to live freely, to express oneself, and to act in harmony with one's true self, promoting principles of liberty, honesty, and integrity. Together, these principles form the bedrock of the Mande Charter, serving as essential components of the empire's foundation and offering timeless lessons on governance, community, and human rights. The Mande Charter's foundational principles, preservation of life, respect for human dignity, solidarity, equity, social justice, freedom, and truth, mirror those of Ma'at, an ancient philosophy central to the civilizations that flourished from the Great Lakes region to the Nile Valley for millennia. Ma'at embodying truth, justice, order, and righteousness, aimed fundamentally to preserve and enhance life. The principle of solidarity, a core aspect of genuine African identity, is vividly reflected in ancient Egyptian teachings. For example, the 42 commandments of Ma'at include acts of kindness such as providing bread to the hungry, water to the thirsty, clothing to the naked, and offering a boat to those without one. These acts highlight the deeply ingrained values of community support and benevolence. Furthermore, the values of equity and social justice are emphasized in the ancient Egyptian declarations of bringing justice and rejecting iniquity to the deity Osiris. This demonstrates a long-standing commitment to fairness and the righting of wrongs. Truth is central to Ma'at and is equally revered in the Mande Charter, where it is paired with the notion of freedom. Notably, historian Cheikh Anta Diop described ancient Egypt as a place of inalienable freedom, underscoring the significant role that liberty played in these ancient societies. Thus, when we examine the principles laid out in the Mande Charter, it becomes clear that they are not only integral to the Mali Empire, but are also deeply rooted in the broader, ancient traditions of African civilization. These principles continue to resonate, illustrating a profound and enduring legacy of moral and ethical governance. This implies that the founders of the Mali Empire built their nation upon the ancient principles of Ma'at, which the Mandingo people refer to as Dugu, Hogo, or Mogho. The Mande Charter, therefore, serves as an illustration of the foundational values and pillars upon which African ancestors established empires, kingdoms, and societies across the continent. Such laws and principles are still present in authentic African societies today, underscoring their enduring relevance. The Mande Charter represents a contextual adaptation of Ma'at's laws, preserved and upheld by the Hunter Brotherhood within the Mali Empire. In essence, the concept of human rights wasn't a new invention, but has deep roots in ancient traditions. The hunters, known in the Mandinka language of the Mali Empire as Donsos, were custodians of these principles. They declared their commitment to protecting the community, as reflected in the Charter's assurance. As long as we hold the quiver and the bow, hunger will kill no one in Manden. Beyond their skills in hunting, the Donsos were also adept in wilderness survival, possessing extensive knowledge of animals, food sources, and medicinal plants, which sometimes also made them healers. Their proficiency in defending their territories was well recognized. The far-reaching travels of the Donsos mean that their descendants are widespread across West Africa, particularly in countries like Burkina Faso, Mali, Ivory Coast, and Guinea. However, European colonialism altered their perception and terminology, and today, the Donsos are commonly known as Dozos. A true Donzo embodies ethics and moral values, holds human life in high regard, and must never engage in criminal activities. Otherwise, they would be considered an imposter. It is fitting to honor all Donzos, those who continue to uphold the values passed down from our ancestors and established under the leadership of Mansa Sundiata Keita. At the site of the 1236 Mande Charter in present-day Mali, a memorial stands where these historic events are believed to have taken place according to Mandinka traditions. Studying the Charter allows us to uncover the foundational humanist values that underpinned African states in general, and particularly those of the Great Imperial era. This understanding points to the necessity of basing the future African states on the principles of Ma'at. Article 1. The Great Man Society is divided into 16 clans of quiver carriers, 5 clans of marabouts, 4 groups of nyamakalas, and 1 group of slaves. Each one has a specific activity and role. Article 2. The nyamakalas must devote themselves to tell the truth to the chiefs, to be their counselors, and to defend by the speech the established rulers and the order upon the whole territory. Article 3. The 5 clans of marabouts are our teachers and our educators in Islam. Everyone has to hold them in respect and consideration. Article 4. The society is divided into age groups. Those born during a period of 3 years in succession belong to the same age group. The members of the intermediary class between young and old people should be invited to take part in the making of important decisions concerning the society. Article 5. Everybody has a right to life and to the preservation of physical integrity. Accordingly, any attempt to deprive one's fellow being of life is punished with death. Article 6. To win the battle of prosperity, the general system of supervision has been established to fight against laziness and idleness. Article 7. The Sanankunya, joking relationship, and the Tanamanyonya, blood pact, have been established among the Mandingue people. Consequently, any contention that occurs among these groups should not degenerate the respect for one another being the rule. Between brothers-in-law and sisters-in-law, between grandparents and grandchildren, tolerance should be the principle. Article 8. The Keita family is nominated reigning family upon the empire. Article 9. Children's education behooves the entire society. The paternal authority and consequence falls to everyone. Article 10. We should offer condolences mutually. Article 11. When your wife or your child runs away, stop running after them in the neighbor's house. Article 12. The succession, being patrilinear, never relinquish power to a son when one of his father's brothers is still alive. Never relinquish power to a minor just because he has goods. Article 13. Never offend the Nyaras, the talented. Article 14. Never offend women, our mothers. Article 15. Never beat a married woman before her husband has tried to correct the problem. Article 16. Women, apart from their everyday occupations, should be associated with all our managements. Article 17. Lies that have lived for 40 years should be considered like truths. Article 18. We should respect the law of primogeniture. Article 19. Any man has 2 parents-in-law. We have to hold them in respect and consideration. Article 20. Do not ill-treat the slaves. We are the master of the slave, but not the bag he carries. Article 21. Do not follow up with your constant attentions the wives of the chief, of the neighbor, of the marabout, of the priest, of the friend, and of the partner. Article 22. Vanity is the sign of weakness and humility the sign of greatness. Article 23. Never betray one another. Respect your word of honor. Article 24. In Manden, do not maltreat the foreigners. Article 25. The ambassador does not risk anything in Manden. Article 26. The bull confided to your care should not lead the cattle pen. Article 27. A girl can be given in marriage as soon as she is pubescent without age determination. Article 28. A young man can marry at age 20. Article 29. The dowry is fixed at 3 cows, 1 for the girl, 2 for the father and mother. Article 30. In Mandé, divorce is tolerated for one of the following reasons: the impotence of the husband, the madness of one of the spouses, the husband's incapability of assuming the obligations due to the marriage. The divorce should occur out of the village. The French version, published in 1998, does not include this article, but splits Article 34 into 2, numbering the intervening articles differently. Article 31. We should help those who are in need. Article 32. There are 5 ways to acquire property: buying, donation, exchange, work, and inheriting. Any other form without convincing testimony is doubtful. Article 33. Any object found without a known owner becomes common property only after 4 years. Article 34. The fourth heifer born is the property of the guardian of the heifer. 1 egg out of 4 is the property of the guardian of the laying hen. Article 35. 1 bovine should be exchanged for 4 sheep or 4 goats. Article 36. To satisfy one's hunger is not robbery if you don't take away anything in your bag or your pocket. Article 37. Fakombe is nominated chief of hunters. Article 38. Before setting fire to the bush, don't look down at the ground. Raise your head in the direction of the top of the trees to see whether they bear fruits or flowers. Article 39. Domestic animals should be tied during cultivation and freed after the harvest. The dog, the cat, the duck, and the poultry are not bound by the measure. Final disposals, Article 40. Respect kinship, marriage, and the neighborhood. Article 41. You can kill the enemy, but not humiliate him. Article 42. In big assemblies, be satisfied with your lawful representatives. Article 43. Bala Faseke Koyate is nominated chief of ceremonies and main mediator in Manden. He is allowed to joke with all groups, in priority with the royal family. Article 44. All those who will transgress these rules will be punished. Everyone is bound to make effective their implementation.
Kouroukan Fouga is a place between Mali and Guinea, place where the Mande Charter was adopted, and this happened in the 13th century, 1236. Some talked about 1235. It could be earlier than that, it could be later than that, because this is a oral tradition. But on the hill, it's a Kurukan. Kuru is the hill, but it's a very clear hill. It organized the whole society and design an identity belonging to for the vast territory, which were at some point going to fighting against each other. So this kind of bring them together and create an identity that they call mandate from then. Article 5 for me is a really interesting one. It says everybody has a right to life and the preservation of physical integrity. Accordingly, any attempt to deprive one's fellow being of life is punished with death. This is the human right that we are all, trumping about every day, saying, you have to protect people's life, you have to do this. This is the beginning. It means everybody from the highest to the lowest, including, and this is important to say because not everything is positive in this charter, because they had already, even before the European comes in that area, they had slavery. Even the protection of this life include even the slaves at that time. Yeah, there is Article 16. Women, apart from their everyday occupation, should be associated with all our management. For me, it's bringing women and making them part of the decisions-taking process in the Mundane society. Those kind of practice and those kind of rules still continue up today in most of West African society, but particularly in this Mandingue society in Guinea, Mali, and other countries like Ivory Coast and Senegal. Respect of a neighborhood, this is the beginning of diplomacy between neighbors. Mm-hmm. So you don't solve your problem by violating others' property. So you take into account that your freedom stop at some point. Sanankunya is a relation that community have between themselves that allow them to mock each other and tell the truth in a way that will not offend someone, but that person will take account of that criticizing feedback in a joking way. So everybody can laugh at the king. And that was a good relationship, and this continue up to now. In this charter, everybody can mock them. This is an interesting relationship. So today, freedom of expression, of speech is still relevant to the majority of our country that lag behind in terms of freedom of expression laws.
Until the lions have their own historians, the tales of the hunt will always glorify the hunter.